What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Average Money Podcast, a podcast that I think JJ and we never thought we would ever make. And this is one we're turning over quick because this is real-time news, probably won't be evergreen. But we released our podcast last week was about like our talk with the 2021 market, and little did we know, we knew absolutely nothing about what was going on with the 2021 market. And it's definitely something we want to talk about because even my freaking mother-in-law, who sits in a cubicle at her utility company all day, was asking me about what's going on with these stocks and the bets and the. I was like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. And we know there's probably some people out there. I'm not making fun of her, but there's probably some people out there that really have just been sick of hearing about this all week from your girlfriends, your boyfriends, and everybody else. That you just like, can somebody please? I wish there was two average guys that could break this down into what the hell's going on and
let's go, baby.
So you can enter the conversation, and this is going to come out Monday right before the market's open. And the best part is that we have no idea what's going to be going on. If you are new to this podcast, welcome. My name is Brad Finn. I am joined with Mr. JJ. Does anybody know where my beard oil is? Buckner. How we doing, pal?
Oh my gosh. These are going to probably get more clever and clever. I suck at doing that, man. I suck at trying to come up with something. Dude, what a week, bud. What a week it has been.
You're
man.
drinking? You're drinking.
Oh, hell yes, I'm drinking. I got the Natty Lights. For those of you that have seen that watch the live streams, my wife, I got to give her some props, man. The girl literally brought me some McDonald's sandwiches during the live stream, bringing me a 15-pack of Natty. Guys, I married up. I'm one lucky man.
And she doesn't just get to like shoot up to the store. She's got to pack up the kids.
She's got to pack up both kids. We got a 10-month-old, a 3-year-old, and you guys know if you have kids, you know how it is to pack up kids and go. So the fact that she was willing to do that for her hubby, props to you, girl.
Well, you must have showed her the numbers. If I had the type of week that you probably had, I don't know. I'm assuming these are assumptions.
Yeah.
But I assume that if I showed my wife some of the numbers that you had, even just views, one of your videos, 250,000, 255,000 views. Yikes. That's a month for me.
So obviously, like this week has been crazy for me. So I'm looking at my phone right now, and my real-time 48-hour views, 530,000, 500,000 views in 2 days.
Tell people what it usually is for you, and then I'll tell you mine.
It's usually between, well, it's been like a big range because of what's been all going on lately, but I would say it ranges between like 40,000 to like 80,000 in 2 days.
Yeah. So you have a little over 100,000 subscribers. You're getting 40 to 50,000 every 48 hours. 25K a day. I get 10K a day. So I got 10, you got that, but then in the last couple of days, you're at 500,000.
Yeah, man.
People are into this. So, I mean, if that's not evidence enough that we need to have a freaking conversation about this, I don't know what is.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I am so excited about this one. I know I've been kind of like bugging you about it, but really this is a part of history that's going to go down in the books. This is a time where I don't ever remember another time in history, at least off the top of my head, where the little man, we're making a move, dude. Like everyone's coming together. You see AOC and Ted Cruz and Donald Trump Jr. all agreeing on one thing. I think Dave Portnoy said if they're agreeing on something together, you know something's messed up.
It's crazy that it's such a big deal and so many people really it's right in the front of our minds because we're in this scene. But like I said, when my mother-in-law finds out about it, it's a really big deal. And as far as like the voices rising up, I mean, I think in this type of space, yes. But we've seen and we've been seeing, the voices of the young, not even the millennial crowd anymore. The voices of the young crowd now are making the millennials look like a bunch of whiners. And, that's a great thing. And as somebody that's not and a little bit of a boomer, I'm definitely for what's going on. I just...
Okay, boomer.
There's still that background, the thing in the back of my mind, like, I'm just so brainwashed into thinking that these big corporate funds they're going to win anyway. Like, I don't know what change we can make, but it's been so much fun trying to figure it out. and also be there for people. I mean, it was kind of ironic that we made that episode last week about if you get into the market now, you are going to have a crazy misconception and a delusion about what the stock market is like. And then holy shito, this happens. Like, I'm glad that we at least, instead of somebody getting a 1-2 to the face this week, they only got jabbed because if they listened to last week's episode, like, they're like, oh, wait, Brad and JJ are saying that the market's crazy? And then shit went crazy.
It went way crazier than we could have ever imagined.
Where do we start? Do we start with how or why this is important? Because, I mean, you've done so much research and things have been put on your desk, but I don't know where to start. Where do you want to start with this?
Yeah, this is kind of tough because there is so much to really dive into here. But I think first and foremost, I want to keep this simple, but I want to explain what a short is. I want to explain what a short squeeze is. I want to explain these words people may be hearing, but not quite understanding what they mean.
Okay.
Maybe talk about some stuff that's happened in the past. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think we can. Do we talk about how Wall Street Bets actually ignited this, or at least had a part of it? Because I think that's the headline that everyone's showing. You're either seeing headlines about Wall Street Bets or this Reddit group.
Yeah.
And essentially, Wall Street Bets is a subreddit. And if you don't know what Reddit is, it's a group chat, and you get to post stuff. And Wall Street Bets is one of the most entertaining if you are in the personal finance space. These guys and girls are hilarious. But for that reason, people write them off as being a goof, and self-proclaimed. They say the same thing. They're like, we are a bunch of freaking weirdos. But I think what people are starting to realize is that they're a little bit smarter than people might give them credit for. And it was really one guy I heard that, and you can confirm this or not, but there was one guy in there that has been essentially bullish, meaning thinks the stock needs to go up on GameStop for the last 2 years or so. And he's been buying call options, which means he can set a price that he will buy 100 shares at a time. And if that stock goes up and up and up, he's got it at that discounted price that he wanted. And for 2 years, people in Wall Street Bets have been being like, come on, bro, sell, you're losing your money. He was down like 34 grand or something. I think at the end of the day, he had $54,000 in call options on GameStop. And for 2 years, and then he finally came out a couple months ago and he was like, all right, do you guys really want to know why? And he listed like all the analytics, and everyone in Wall Street Bets was like, yo, we thought you were like some burnout on the couch. You're talking about some real things right now that could really and he's like, yeah. So that's kind of where the short squeeze. These guys realized that a bunch of huge corporate companies were betting against the stock. And that's where the short comes in. And what this guy did was he rallied the guys from Wall Street Bets to essentially throw a match on a hay bale. And they have over 2 million members inside Wall Street Bets, and they've been shut down, been made private. But when you have 2 million voices, 2 million whispers is a really loud roar. So that's what led to what JJ will explain as the short. The short was these hedge fund companies believing that the stock AMC and all these other GameStop was the first one that's going to go to zero. So they bet it's going to go to zero, and they profit off of the loss of that company. And Wall Street Bets was like, no, which created a short squeeze, which is very rare. But what we are seeing right now, and this is ridiculous, you never realize how big history is going to be while it's happening, but sometimes you do. And this is something that we will be talking about at financial water coolers for years to come. And the story's not even over. It's happening. You're listening to this
while we're going through it.
I cannot wait for the markets to open an hour after you listen to this, or maybe you're listening to it midday. All right, Jay, explain exactly what the short squeeze is.
Okay, so first I want to go back to something you said real quick about Wall Street Bets. And I just quickly want to say this, that everyone kind of played them off as, everyone plays all of it. Most honestly, you hear it all the time from like the media and whatnot. Like, playing down the retail investors as like, we don't know what we're doing. But there's guys out there like, and so the guy you're talking about, his name is Deep Effing Value. That's his name. I read it.
He has a YouTube channel too, Ponies or something like that.
Something.
And when you say retail investors, just for people that don't know, we're not talking about like stores. Where could the everyday investor that's like living at home, like if you're at home and you and your husband or you and your wife are buying stocks of Apple, you are a retail investor. Like you're not a corporation buying stocks and controlling companies. That's what JJ meant by a retail investor. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say like, we're smarter than I think a lot of people think we are, especially when you have like people who notice stuff like that. And then there is a way you can take advantage. It's pretty crazy, how much knowledge is out there. But yeah, so to kind of start it from the very basics, and I want to keep this layman's terms. There's no need to get technical or anything like that.
Yeah. I want you to understand. Yeah, we want you to understand.
Yeah, so what's going on is first there was companies, and this has been going on for many, many years. Institutions, hedge funds, they'll do what's known as shorting a stock. So in basic terms, shorting a stock means you go to your broker, right? I go to a broker and I say, I want to borrow a stock that's $10. I borrow that stock from that broker. So I don't own it, but I'm borrowing it. And I sell it for $10, right? Expecting the price to go down. So then let's say the price goes down to $5. Okay. I buy that stock back from the market at $5, and then I give it back to my broker who I was borrowing it from at $10, and I reap the benefits, the difference. 10 minus 5, I made $5. That's basically how a short works. Now, the risk in that is sometimes whenever you borrow those shares, if you're losing money, in return, the stock is actually going up instead of going down. So if the stock goes to $15, well, then now you're in the whole $5. Now, here's the problem. When you're in the whole $5, your account may have only been made up of $10 to purchase the stocks. So how do you come up with the extra $5? Well, you do with something that's known as margin. Margin is basically borrowing money to invest in the market. So you're not even using your cash. It's like taking a loan out. Margin means taking a loan out to go invest with. It's something I will never touch.
It's debt. It's taking out debt to invest. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, that's exactly what it is. So now here's what can happen. So if a stock starts to go up very fast and much in value, and there's a lot of investors who are shorting the stock, what can happen is their losses can become infinite. There's no cap. So what happens is the shorts know this is true. They know there's an infinite amount of losses that they can incur on margin, and in return they have to pay that debt back. And if you incur a loss of multi hundreds of millions of dollars on margin that you now have to pay interest on, you have to pay back. It's just, this is why Melvin Capital is going bankrupt. That's why they're having to get bailed out.
They start to panic because their whole game is based on borrowing.
So real quick, there's something I want to add to kind of sum this up. So then what happens is let's say the stock starts to go up whenever a company, an institution, a hedge fund thinks it's going to go down, they'll cover their short. So what that means is they will buy back the shares at a higher price to cut their losses. It's kind of like when you're up in an options trade and you're like, I'm up 20%. Do I wait for 30 or do I just take my profits now? Except it's the exact opposite. If your losses are at 30% or 100 or 1,000, when do you take those losses? Absolutely. And it's scary because the scary part about that is if you're seeing those losses go higher and higher and higher and higher every day, and since there is no cap on your losses, it could just keep going to the damn moon.
And what we're meaning by the losses are capped is, like I said, those people that borrowed the 100 shares and then sold them, they have to buy them back eventually to give back to their broker. And share prices can go up and up and up and up and up. So that $10, yeah, it could be $11, and then it's $13, and then it's $16, and then you're covering those shorts, and you're paying your broker interest on all these things, and it just becomes. And they're literally looking at the stock, and they're saying, all right, if we get to 300% loss, we gotta cut our losses. If we get to 350, and then they're like, oh, maybe we'll just wait, and then it just goes haywire. And even more so is when these stocks get borrowed and then sold to somebody else, that person's broker can now borrow them back. So what happened and what made this a monumental pile of hay is the fact that there was more shares that were shorted than that were in circulation. So what happened with GameStop is when these people went to cut their losses and buy back the shares, they couldn't do it. And when they did, they would have to do it at such a ridiculous rate because the people that were trying to sell them were like, no, we're not ready to get. That's what Wall Street's Bet did. People think that Wall Street's Bet like dumped all this money.
This is genius.
They think that they think it's a pump and dump scheme. Wall Street Bets, all they did was create a little bit of panic for the shorters, because what happens when the shorters buy stocks, the price goes up. And then the next shorter, they get nervous and they buy. And so Wall Street Bets didn't drive the price of GameStop to the moon. The shorters actually did it to themselves by panicking and needing to buy back those shares to get back to the brokerage. And Wall Street Bets was looking like all Wall Street Bets is doing is saying that you'll hear the expression diamond hands. They will not sell their shares back and until the price is right. And what we have is these hedge funds that shorted this company that are begging. They're saying, please sell us back our shares so we don't lose millions and billions of dollars. And Wall Street's Bet saying, nope, I want more. I don't want 300. I want 500. I don't want 500 for them back. I want 600.
Yeah, I changed my mind. I want a little higher.
Yeah. Yesterday I told you 7. Well, that was my best offer, so now I'm going to go 8. And that's really what it is. It's this game of chess where the guys from Wall Street Bets and everybody else that's on the right side of history, I mean, I got in a little bit. I had some fun with it.
I'm still in it.
Yeah. It's a game of chess where they're staring at us saying, you'll sell. And we're staring back at them saying, hold the line. And that's what happened with GameStop. And then I think what happened was people started to be like, wow,
look at all these other companies.
There's a lot of stocks like this. Let's jump on AMC. Let's jump on Blackberry. Let's jump on Nokia. And then just madness ensued. Madness. That same guy we were talking about, I think he posted something like the value of his contracts were in the 30s of millions of dollars. He put in $53,000. He's been waiting 2 years. Now, granted, is this the ultimate gamble? Yeah. Like, that's the worst thing that we're seeing from average people. Like, I got my brother texted me yesterday. Hey, man, should I buy Nokia shares in the morning? I'm like, to be honest, you missed the party. Like, if you're just finding out about this now, you're listening on Monday and you're like, yeah, I was thinking, like, it's over. Like, I think what would be advisable is to just watch from the sidelines and clap for your friends that win. I wouldn't say when this comes out on Monday that there's still some action to be had. JJ, you might disagree with me.
I actually just talked to the Discord about this tonight. So I was saying that Nokia and Blackberry had a small sell-off after hours, but AMC and GameStop were relatively flat. Me as an investor, I was personally thinking that if we weren't going to see a short squeeze on Monday, because there was a lot of contracts and stuff that closed on Friday that people had to cover, if we didn't see the major sell-off on Friday happen, which we didn't after hours, that I still think there's a chance for a pretty big major squeeze on Monday. Now, I'll tell the podcast, I told my Discord this, with me having calls, not shares, if I do see a pretty nice hike in price, then I'm going to have to take some profits on that because I'm limited to my amount of time. If I own shares, I'd be willing to hold longer because I don't have that time, factor against me. But with my call options, I have up until next Friday until they expire. And Brad, you kind of ran into this today too. I don't want to get too much into like options and stuff like that, but
yeah, so that's a major piece of that stalemate that we didn't mention. When you are buying and selling options, the people that own shares, you can hold those forever, but options are limited. So when these big funds are saying to the Wall Street bet guys, you'll sell to us, and he says, yeah, we'll sell to you on Monday after your contracts expire, and the other people are like, I'm running out of time, I got to cut my losses now, and that's what happened. So one of my call options for Nokia, it had an expiration date of today, 1/29, and we'll talk about what happened in the days to follow after these short squeezes really hit the market. But essentially, I didn't have enough time to pull my profits out. I didn't have enough time for it to do what I needed to do, because when you are selling options, that there is that time domain. And I will plug really quick. This episode could be brought to you guys by us. It is February 1st. So our trading options for beginners, the ultimate guide, is now live. You can now get that. We'll leave a link in the description, and we'll leave a discount code for you down there too, so you can hop on board and get a piece of that if you want, like a beginner's guide. Like, not if you know what's going on, then it's probably not for you, right?
Yeah, if you know the Greeks, if you can, you understand options.
We're really not selling it. We're just letting you guys know that it's there.
Yes.
Because we do get so many questions, and this is an option that we're going to be talking about options a lot. So I think there's like 3 hours of content in there to just learn the basics. It's probably worth the price of a textbook. It's pretty good stuff. But yeah, so now, JJ, why did this become a YouTube and media and everything sensation? Like, we've seen stocks shoot up. Like, that happens. Like, we've seen Tesla's been doing it. Like, what made this and the events around it so monumental?
Okay, so first, I'm going to give a disclaimer. If you guys have been watching my live streams, you've seen me get a little heated. So I'm going to try not to cuss too much.
Go for it. I'll edit it out, man.
I'll save your time.
Thank you.
So now we understand what a short is. We understand what these companies were doing. And we understand that there is a very, 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 very large risk at what these companies were doing. The risk they were taking on was a large amount. This is very important to understand this. So as these companies were figuring out that there's it's starting to get on the internet, people are starting to understand what's going on, just the fact that they were losing all this money, they needed to do something about it. Somebody needed to step in and save the big guys, the suits, because they're losing money. They're losing big money.
Lots.
And the fact that's so disturbing that they're getting away with this is that what happens if Brad goes and makes an investment and he puts his net worth into this investment and it goes south? He understood the risk. He took on the risk. Nobody comes to bail out Brad. Nobody's there to save Brad. Brad and his family have to start from ground zero. I say that because now these hedge funds had a very large risk. They understood the risk they were taking, and it went south for them. They were losing hundreds of millions of dollars from this risk they took on, and they understood what they were getting into. Well, the fact that they were losing for once, they took it upon themselves to fix it, and they stopped the market. They stopped trading in these stocks that were the high flyers, that were heavily shorted, that they were burning these companies to the ground. And might I say, there was a news that just came out today. We're recording this on Friday night. AMC was able to clear, like $600 million worth of debt because of what was going on. That's awesome. That's an American company. That's thousands of jobs that were saved because of what's going on. All because the retail investors, the short squeeze was happening. The buys were happening. The price was going higher. They were losing more money because, like I said earlier, as the price goes up, when they think it's going to go down, they're on margin, they're borrowing the money, and those risks and the losses are increasing every single day. So the crazy thing is I never thought this would have happened, to where I am not in control of something that's going on that's hurting me. Let me say this. I'm still technically up in my plays, but I show this on my live stream. I was up over 10 grand in a day from these calls. And as price was going up, you can see on my graph on my Robinhood portfolio, it's in my live stream, all of those stocks were up pre-market big time. And they were going to keep shooting. They were going to keep shooting up. Well, what happened on Thursday morning When the market opened and you could buy more shares, people were buying more. The word was getting out. The stocks were going to keep going higher. The uptick was happening on my chart. Boom. Robinhood comes out and blocks us completely from buying. They sent out some bullshit letter saying, we're looking out for our investors. We're protecting them. The hell you are. Now there's been, as stuff's been looked into more, there's been connections to one of the largest hedge funds that was shorting this stock, Melvin Capital, to Robinhood and the company that messes with their transactions and runs their orders. So that goes to show, since that company was losing one of the biggest, largest amount of money, they're going to step in and have Robinhood do something about it.
Yeah, so let's back up just a little bit here.
Okay.
When you say that, they were going to do something about it and they did, you might be thinking to yourself, like, how can like a company like manipulate the market? Well, it's well known that these big companies with all this money and all this lobbying ability and all these high profile political friends, they're doing things that are sketchy, way beyond our belief. Inside trading, you name it. I'm not here to accuse, but it's one of those things we just always accepted to be going on. Now, pretty much when we say Robinhood, that's a brokerage, and it ended up happening with a couple, but Robinhood was the first one, and Robinhood's also one of the most used beginner apps. It was number one on the App Store on Wednesday, things like that. All these people want to enter a free market, and they want to be able to do the things they want to do, and they want to be able to take advantage of opportunities, right? That's what we do in the stock market. You do that with futures, you do that anything. Like if you know that there's going to be a drought, right? You're going to bet futures on the oranges. That's just what you do. And I think what people may not realize and what Robinhood really did wrong, or what they're going to be backpedaling and trying to say that they did, is that they were, like you said, they were looking out for us, which is not true. But now people may not understand, JG, how not allowing us to buy or sell these stocks, how did it, A, really screw us over? And how did it, B, really help these hedge fund people?
Great point. So as I talked about with that pre-market on Thursday, you could see like the uptick. You could see the prices starting to go up. What happens is whenever Robinhood shuts down trading on these, they lock trading on these stocks. The problem is that when there's no one to buy the stocks, the demand goes down for that. It's like basic supply and demand. If there's no one to buy the stock, the demand's going to go down. Robinhood knew this. The hedge funds behind them knew this, and they wanted this to happen for a couple reasons, but mainly they wanted this to happen because they knew the price would be shot back down because there's no one to buy more. And the word was starting to get out to the mainstream, which more your everyday investors, your beginner investors, maybe who never even bought a stock, was starting to get into this just because it was becoming that powerful. So they shut it down. And when that happens, the demand goes down, no one's buying, the stock price is going to shoot down. It's going to go way down. And when the stock goes down, they recoup some of those losses, the hedge funds, what they were losing as the stock price was going up. So what this does is this gives the hedge funds a full day to take their time. They still get to have access to trading. They can cover their short losses. They can close their positions. It's basically what it is. Dave Portnoy had a great analogy on this. It's like saying I wrestled in high school, right? So I'm wrestling this dude. Wrestling a guy, and I'm beating him. I throw him down. I'm holding him against the mat. I'm getting ready to pin him. But then he looks at the referee and he goes, no, time out. I'm tired. I need a break. I was about to lose. I was on my back, getting ready to get pinned. But I need to recoup myself. Just hang on 1 second. Time out, ref. There's no timeouts. You can't do that in wrestling.
Then we're going to tie your hands behind your back because just to kick you in the throat even more. They have the ability to trade and we don't. Like they had the ability to work and mitigate their losses and get out of positions.
Yes.
And what we said before, how these panics were making people buy their shares back. And then, like I said, supply and demand. When people are buying, stocks go up. When people aren't buying, they lower the price so people, quote, buy. They artificially made it seem like nobody wanted to buy GameStop.
And they also wanted to make panic in the markets too. Because as the stock price was shooting down low, they knew the retail investors were going to panic. And that sends the price even lower.
And then it got even worse when it was like, people were like, all right, the lock's out of GameStop, we'll go and do it with other ones. And then I think this happened for now 2 days because they did it on Friday as well. And by the end of the second day, Robinhood had suspended like 10 stocks. They didn't need any more bad press. We did an episode on this podcast about why we left Robinhood with our main brokerages and the type of stuff like this. And now JJ and I are faced with this ridiculous situation, which we'll talk about in a minute. Like, where do we move forward with Robinhood? But yeah, I think people just need to understand that the real reason that people are mad beyond money is that we weren't given a fair chance. We weren't given the ability to go up against these huge multi-million-dollar corporations that were literally betting against companies, wanting small companies to fail so that they could profit off their loss. They didn't care about AMC. They didn't care about GameStop. They didn't care about all these other small companies. And it was pretty much Wall Street Bet saying, like, one for the Gipper, let's do this. Let's give them a shot. There's some potential there. And then essentially the bigwigs pretty much, they made a phone call. Hey, yeah, we're bleeding over here and we're all going to end up on the street. So we're going to need you to suspend trading. And I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision for Robinhood. God only knows. There's going to be class action lawsuits. And like I said, this is something that's going to go on. But I think I remember you saying something like that Robinhood fully admitted that they screwed everybody over, but they were like, the losses that we'll get in a class action lawsuit are less than the relationships with our friends. Am I saying that right? Did that happen?
Yeah, man. It's crazy to think about what's going on right now. I thought honestly I lived in a free country. I thought I had the decision to invest in a free market. And I go back to what they said earlier about we were looking in the best interest from our investors. No, you weren't. You were not at all. Because we all know that stock price was going up pre-market and it would have kept flying high if they would not have touched it. Now they also want to lower, so they opened up trading for some of these stocks on Friday. But then they say, oh, well, you can only buy 100 of these. You can only buy 115 of these. Now now actually as the day goes on, the price is still getting higher. Well, now you can only buy 5 of them.
Which one was, they were all 5 at the end of the day?
I think Nokia was 5. I think you can only buy like 5 Nokias or something like that. So people who maybe aren't familiar with investing or how it works, what's happening here is that the system is rigged. It's rigged against the little guy. But there's an analogy I want to make on this podcast, and I made it on the live streams because I really think it fits perfect. If any of you have seen A Bug's Life, the Pixar movie, and it's the ants versus the grasshoppers. The ants always have to bring the food, get it prepped, get it ready for the grasshoppers to come like every spring or whatever it is, and they come feast. And they keep them in line. The grasshoppers do not let the ants know that they actually do outnumber them, so they keep them in line. It's just the process. Well, one ant stood up to him, and that was it. But then the grasshoppers were like, do we really need to take care of this one guy? There's not much we need. It was whatever. It's one ant. And then the main guy, the main grasshopper was like, well, let me show you something real quick. So they're at this like little food bar, and he pops open this can and grabs a pebble of food, and he throws it at the grasshopper. And he asks him, he goes, did that hurt? And the one grasshopper was like, no. So then he opens it again, grabs one more pebble, throws it at the guy, at the grasshopper. That hurt? No. So then he rips off the can, rips it open, and all these pebbles fall down on these 2 grasshoppers, and it completely covers them, and they can't get out. And the point I'm making is those pebbles were representing the ants. One ant against a big guy doesn't matter. When you have thousands of ants against a few big guys, then we start taking control, and that is exactly what happened in this market. The little guys came together. We saw an opportunity in the market. We saw somebody taking on some major risk, and we wanted to take an opportunity to better ourselves in our investment.
We didn't even want control. We just exploited them. That's exactly
so true.
That's it. And people are thinking to themselves, well, why would these companies come out and saying it? They come out because a lot of times when they're doing this, with our voice being small, they can win. So they'll publicly post their short positions and things like that to brag. Look at how much we got on that one. Another great deal by this corporation. And that's how they bring in their money to invest for that's how they run their funds. And this was one of those, they didn't think that there was going to be one ant to stand up to them. And that was 2 million people in Wall Street Bets. And we didn't want control. We just wanted an even playing field. And
so true.
Now, are you worried that, like, quote, we got ourselves in over our head and the regulations and stuff from the SEC and the people that govern this? Like, are we going to see major changes? Like, we all know that I'm a VTSAX guy. And that's the other thing that we failed to mention. I'll just say it now because we don't need to talk about it. But like, while all this was going on, the markets weren't doing well overall. The S&P 500 wasn't doing well. The total stock market wasn't doing well. So I think that caused some panic even for the regular like ETF and index fund investor people. They're like, wait, this is bad for them and it's getting bad for us. And then back to, if you are a new beginner, if you are a new investor in this market, you have just stay the course. Keep listening to
relax.
Keep listening to the Average Money podcast and probably watch from the sidelines. But what does this mean moving forward? Like, do we need to start evaluating this on a daily, a weekly, a monthly? This is your full-time job and everything. Like, what is your Monday? Are you sleeping? Like, what are you thinking about right now?
No, I'm not sleeping, actually, especially with all those live streams. I've gotten like 4 hours of sleep on the past 3 days. But first and foremost, Brad, somebody has to pay for this. If we don't see somebody go to jail, that's a problem. Because look what happened back in 08 and 09. 08 and 09, a bunch of Americans were sold some crap loans for their mortgage, balloon notes, interest rates shot up. Everyone's interest rate on their mortgage shot up to 9, 10, 15%, whatever it was. Couldn't afford their mortgage payment because their interest payment was too high. Interest was too high. So majority of Americans had to foreclosure on their homes. Many families lost homes. People become homeless. And then the banks starting losing money because there's defaulting on the loans. No one's paying their bills. Guess who gets bailed out? The suits. The big guys. The banks. Guess what we get? Who lost their homes, lost their jobs, people struggling, people homeless. We got nothing, guys. Nothing. I feel like the system is rigged against the little guy. And I've been speaking about this all week because I'm so fed up. You know, I was in high school when 08 and 09 happened, but I saw the effect. I was able to be old enough to remember it. And the fact that this is still happening today, and we're still seeing it happen, but now we have somehow this little voice that's still getting a little louder and a little louder and a little stronger. I really hope something happens. Somebody needs to pay for this. I don't know what's going to change, to be honest, Brad. I really don't know. That's kind of above me. I don't know if there's some sort of regulation on hedge funds that needs to happen. But again, like, how do you regulate a free market? But real quick, and I don't want to bring this up too much, this is another reason why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin, is because it's decentralized. No one has control of it.
And those are the people that we've talked to, and we'll go back, probably episode 5 or 6 was Bitcoin. And these are the things that people argue is a pro for Bitcoin and things like that. And it's crazy how we keep looking at just like this small circle of the voices rising up and changes need to be happen and things that have been going on for years and decades. And I think we're seeing a lot of that happen. Like, and maybe it's too many changes all at once. Maybe that's why everyone's all freaked out. And I will not step up to the line of politics, but I think that things would have been a little bit different depending on the type of party that was kind of running everything. We know that one party kind of looks for big businesses and looks for, a lot corporate money and things like that. And the other side doesn't so much. So that's another thing that we have to, figure out how that's going to change with the change in power. But then we go even far beyond this. And then we look at your job and pretty much my second job is using these investing platforms and talking about them and promoting them. And we just did a course on the beginner's guide to trading options, and that was all about Robinhood. And we have that in our videos and we talk about it in our Discord. Like, Robinhood is part of my daily life, even though we did make that video and we took all of our primary money and our primary investing out of there. We talked about the very good pros and cons.
Yeah.
And they were making some amazing progressions since we made that video that we as affiliates were super happy. We clap when people win. We didn't want them after they screwed up all these times. We didn't want them to go out of business. We didn't want them to suck. We just said, hey, unless you make changes, we have to step away. And they said, voice heard. You've been on phone calls with them one after another. They listen to us and they've made some changes. But then this happens. You push us back against the wall. It's like, how many times are you going to let your ex-girlfriend cheat on you before you're like, listen, I got to go?
So true, man.
You know, and everyone's like, how many times are you going to let them get away with it? How many times are you going to let them say they're going to make changes? And then everyone's like, well, Robinhood's really simple, easy to use. That's one of our biggest arguments. It's so easy to use. Well, how pretty is that ex-girlfriend that you keep? Because, you know, like, you have to draw the line somewhere and say enough is enough. And I'm not saying that I've reached that place with Robinhood. I'm not somebody that's going to be like, starting Monday, I'm moving my Robinhood investing. I'm not there. But it's kind of like that fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I think that's what a lot of people are angry about too with Robinhood. Because this did happen with other brokerages. Other brokerages did suspend trading and limit trading, but nobody talked about that because Robinhood was supposed to be better than that. They were supposed to be the big players in this app space. They were supposed to be the ones that are always fighting for the little guy and the new investor and things like that. And shit, they just keep throwing themselves back in the hot water. And it's one thing if you're pissing off your investors, but when you're pissing off the people that promote you, like they just wrote me an email the other day, like, want to send you some swag. Thanks for helping us out. I know you probably have a pair of socks or a t-shirt from them at least. Like don't send me a pair of socks and then crush my options plays and make me lose what could be potentially thousands of dollars because you were bailing some people out. That sucks.
That's something I don't know if we brought that up or not yet. The fact that, you know, our 120, I was calling it in the live stream, our 129 guys, the guys who bought the calls, the expiration at the 129. If no one would have touched the price, if no one would have halted the market, if no one would have manipulated the market, you guys would have profited pretty nice.
And here's where the boomer in me once again looks back. And we all had our fingers on the button on Wednesday, you and I included. We were going back and forth between the iron hands and the paper hands. And I think one argument that Robin would say is like, first off, you signed the freaking terms and conditions that nobody reads. And this is all in there. So we didn't break any rules, which is going to piss a lot of people off that we really didn't break any rules. What we did was super effed up. And if you're in my hometown, they're fighting words. But legally, they didn't really do anything wrong because we agreed to it. Yeah, I could be mad at myself too because on Wednesday I could have took profits. I was sending people screenshots on Wednesday, you know, and then you think like, all right, and you were saying the same thing, like it could go down tomorrow, but when you're up 10 grand and if it goes down to 5, you're still money.
I mean, you never would have thought that Robinhood would stop you from trading.
The value of my options went down 98% while the market was closed. So what that means is once again too, we don't have access to off-hour trading. So when I went to bed, I was like, all right, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and this is either going to be down a little bit and that's cool, but we'll rally and it'll go back up. Or what we saw the night before when we wake up, it's going to be up another 100%. Instead, we woke up to, oh yeah, by the way, all the values of your options are now nothing. And you can't buy more at this lower price. Because that's the other thing that we haven't even talked about. While the price was dropping, we as investors couldn't even buy the dip. We couldn't even buy the dip. We were allowed to only sell off our positions. That's it. And for me to sell off my position, I would have sold it off for a 98% loss. So all I had to do on Thursday was hope that they'd clear this up and my option, I'd maybe get to break even. And if Friday, maybe we get to, and guys, I'm talking like, this is not a lot of money, but it's more the principle. Like you guys know that I'm a boomer investor, that we're talking like maybe like $150, $200 for me. But like, it's the principle, because the other thing as a smart investor I would have done is when I owned AMC and then it dropped 50% because they halted trading. Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to average down. I'm going to buy the dip. I couldn't even do that because that would have saved me some money too. And that's where the people are like up in arms, like we need a lawsuit. Like there's so many ways people quote could have lost money or could have gained money, or there's no way to pinpoint it. And at the end of the day, we freaking signed the term. And I know this is one of those times where I'm be like, I'm never going to just sign the terms and conditions. Yeah, I'm not reading TLDR. I'm not reading that anymore. But like I said, what they did was effed up. I mean, I'm open. I'll be happy to say, and I know that my Discord is lighting me up for it. I'm like, I can't. They didn't hurt me so bad. At the end of the day, I could be angry, but I did sign. I knew the risks, just like anything, and I had a bad day. I'm having great days in my other calls. Overall, my net worth is still going up, and I want to hate on Robinhood, and I'm definitely not going to put a large portion of my money in, but for their interface and their use and their.
Let me ask you this, Brad.
Go ahead.
Real quick. And I don't mean to cut you off, but if you weren't a content creator, would you use Robinhood, or would you leave Robinhood on Monday?
I don't think so. I don't know, because if I wasn't a content creator, frankly, I don't know if I would use Robinhood at all to begin with. And I don't mean that like I'm using it and showing you false pretense, but we've talked before, mostly in that episode, even last week, about how we do certain things that are learning opportunities for our viewers and things like that. And I would just be investing into VTI and VTSAX all day. But I don't, like I said, I'm just angry. I don't think I would like break the phone and be like, I'm going over to Webull. And I have Webull and M1 Finance and all those other things too. I have many brokerage accounts. They all have their pros and cons. I just don't know if the pros that Robinhood has would be enough for me to like, it's hard to say. I really don't know. And the other thing, and this sounds, it's running through the back of my mind, and I've never really said this out loud. I've never really considered myself a creator, a creative, a YouTuber, but now I look.
But you are. I mean, you are.
Well, now I look back, now that I'm thinking about it in this moment, I don't remember what my life was like before I had a social media influence. And that's the other thing too, because we wear that burden on our back. You know, if you lost this week and maybe you used my referral and I was the one that introduced you to Robinhood, even though I didn't directly lose your money or I didn't directly screw you over, I still feel that burden of like, well, would this have happened if I would have got them into Webull? You know, would this have happened if I never talked about investing? I don't know, because I know you got screenshots in the Discord. I got them. You got them. We got some buddies that didn't lose $150 like I did. You know, that didn't have this happen. This is where it gets to the point where we can lay out all the facts and everything, but you don't know. There's so much speculation. There's so much and because the story hasn't been written.
Yeah.
Look at what 7 days did. Look our conversation Friday to this Friday.
Crazy, man. But if I was a content creator, would I leave Robinhood tomorrow? I would say this. I would say for investing my stocks, I would probably be done forever. But like, dude, I hate saying this, but I love the options trading user interface for Robinhood. It's so slick.
I wish we joked about like, we got to create the mega app. Like if there was an app that was wonderful, but I think Brian Jung said something awesome on your podcast, on your live stream today. And the best way to get them is go get those free stocks and then get out.
That's so true.
Use our link, get the free stocks and get out, because they got to pay you for those 4 free stocks.
Yeah. No, I mean, he nailed it on that for sure. So, Brad, my final thoughts here, just with everything that's been going on, the madness in the market, the manipulation we've been seeing over the past couple days, is one, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that this happened. I'm shocked that us retail investors were taken advantage of. I can't believe that it happened. I thought I lived in a free country. I thought I was investing in a free market. And to see when the big guys lose, they're going to turn it around and make the little guys lose. It's rigged for the big guys. It's rigged for the hedge funds. Something needs to be done, whatever that is, I don't know. Somebody needs to pay for it. And I'll be damned if Robinhood or anybody else wants to tell me how to invest. I'm my own man. You don't need to hold my hand. Don't tell me when I can and can't buy a stock because you're trying to save me. Let me use my risk to do whatever I want. You would do it anywhere else. You were letting these people buy these balloon note loans. Why weren't you saving them on that? It's just only whenever the big guys lose. So don't tell me that this shit isn't rigged. Don't tell me this shit isn't manipulated. I'm pissed off I said this earlier too. I feel like us normal average people, average money, we're representing the average person. I feel like we got punched in the throat and then kicked in the nuts. Seriously, like they cheap shotted us, man. We were supposed to make money. We were supposed to be winning.
Well, we were supposed to be given the opportunity to win. And some of those
yes, so true.
Give me the opportunity. Let me fall flat on my face.
Yep.
But now I want to be clear too, and I'm not going to speak for you, so you can answer this.
Okay.
Are we telling people that that the stock market is not a safe place to invest?
No. See, I like.
Is the stock market rigged, or are those certain platforms and certain things like? What is rigged?
Yeah, that's so. I believe the stock market can be manipulated for sure. It's been going on for years. I will stand by that. Do I say this to steer people away from investing in the stock market? No. Hope to God there's changes to happen. I hope, because I never thought this would have happened before, ever. No way. If you would have told me that Robinhood could stop me from buying a stock because it was going up too fast, I would have said you're out of your freaking mind. Never, Robin. They would never do that. No one would ever do that. So that part is what's freaky. But I wouldn't say that I'm trying to steer people away from investing in the stock market. No.
Can I answer this? Because I just thought about this, and I really just came on top of my head. How is what Robinhood did different than the built-in circuit breaker in the market that we saw in March and things like that? Is it because? And here's what I'm thinking about in the back of my head. I think that the reason why it's different is because it's very well known that will happen. Like those rules, those terms and conditions.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Because I've heard people whispering like, this is just a circuit breaker in the opposite direction. All I did was a circuit breaker in the opposite direction. And if you don't know what a circuit breaker is, if the stock market just starts to dive to fight against a recession and things like that and a great crash, they'll just cease all trading of all stocks. It's the circuit breaker. And people are arguing that they did it on the other end, but I'm like, the circuit breaker we know about.
Yes, that's a rule. We all know that as, you may not know about that, but
if Robinhood came out and said, hey, if a certain stock goes up 200% for 3 days in a row, we're not going to let you trade that anymore, that would be very different. They didn't do that. But if we knew that was the case, and we're on day 2 and it's up 200% again, and they were like, oh man, if it goes up 200% again tomorrow, those damn Robinhood, they're going to shut down the market. We're not going to be able to trade that.
So true.
That's the difference between this and a circuit breaker. We didn't know. I went to bed on Wednesday dreaming, and like I said, with my $150, but at Wednesday night, I think I had a value of like $1,400, which is a really, really big flip. It's like 1,000% return. And the fact that we didn't know, the fact that they took us while we were sleeping, they slapped us around, and then there's really nothing we can do about it. They didn't legally, as we know of right now, do anything wrong, which sucks.
Can I say this real quick? I forgot to mention this. So there was news that came out today that the SEC is going to be looking into this to see if there was manipulation in the market and why the reasoning for Robinhood shutting us out. Which I'm glad to hear that, because that at least shows somebody may be on our side. Now, for what that means, I don't know. What is that really going to come to fruition? Will the SEC really stick up for us? Who knows? It may not happen. It may be a bunch of BS. But the fact that the news came out that they're even looking into it is making me feel a little better.
And this is going on, guys, also this is very, very built up in the world of options trading. So that's what I was kind of saying before with like, don't worry if you are like me. I'm not worried. I'm a VTSAX investor. Your Roth IRA is most likely safe. You're not trading options with these speculative investments. There was risks on both sides. Like when it comes to the end of the day, I am speaking for JJ. Like if you have your regular Monday Roth IRA contribution set up for Vanguard or Fidelity on Monday, you should not even be thinking twice. Like that should be happening. If you're doing my Robinhood $50 a week investing challenge and you're putting some money in an ETF and you're putting some things into Starbucks and Apple and Microsoft, these manipulations and these crazy things that we're hearing about, not to say they don't exist in that world, but this is a separate world of personal finance and a separate world of the stock market. And this is the type of things that you see stock market movies about. Nobody's making
Yes.
movies about the total stock market index fund. You know, they're just not doing it. So I just want to be super clear that we're kind of having a conversations with those options traders, and we're having a conversation with them because we know how they feel. But if you're on the other side, like Heidi from last Friday's voicemail, if you're Heidi, like, continue to pay off your mortgage, continue to keep investing.
The Heidi that lives in the pastures of Indiana.
Oh, she called me out in the she called me out in the Discord. I was like, "Hey man, we got water. I got the beach here." You can see that picture. Yeah, no, she got me. I told you I don't even really know where Indiana is. I know it's over there. I don't. I'm gonna be straight up. I don't even know if that's north, south, east, or west of you. I still have trouble trying to figure out where the hell Missouri is, and I always get it confused with Minnesota. I always get those two. Like sometimes I'm like, "Oh, you're up on the lakes. Do you guys love hockey up there?" And you're like, I have the Budweiser farm. I'm like, okay, no lakes there anyway. But I want to end on a high note because, like I said, I'm still so pumped for Heidi, and like that was still hearing that episode came out this morning before we and I listened to these over and over again because I edit them, and that was the voicemails on Fridays are just so fun, and
they're becoming our favorites.
Yeah, and just like behind the scenes too, it was our most downloaded day one episode we've had yet. And like I said, I'm glad for that because I want people to hear Heidi's voice. So please, if you have not left a voicemail for us, I'll leave a link down in the description below. You can do that. Please leave us that. If you are an Apple, leave us a review. That's their only metric that they use to push people to the top. Also, if you're thinking about options and you want to put some money in and you want to invest in yourself to try and learn that and help us along the way, we have that course. We'll leave that down in the description below. Patreon, you can come help us out, talk it. All these things that we are trying to build a community around. And the community we get to see through those Friday voicemails and also through our comment sections and our reviews. Do you have anything you want to mention before I sign us off here, JJ?
I'll keep it short. I definitely rambled on a lot, but I mean, this is something that means a lot to me, guys, and I hope we do see some changes. But I'm glad, Brad, you brought this up. I don't want this episode to scare people away from investing in the stock market, but I also want something. I want to see something happen. I want to see something change. I want to see the little guys start winning more. So what a week it's been. It's been absolutely just a whirlwind past few days, but it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out.
Yeah, and we'll follow up. And like I said, this is the stuff that we're talking about in the Discord. If you want to shoot over there and get in there, it's a free chat, and there are some premium chats for more advanced stuff. But episode reactions and stuff, that's free. We'll leave that down there. And we've been working hard, so we have the next couple of days planned. I'll tell you. Still, next Friday's episode is going to be from Malakrik. He phonetically told me how to say it, but we'll be looking out for Frank's question. You guys will finally get to hear this. Malakrik. And then next Monday, co-host episode with Ryan Pineda that we recorded today, and super excited to talk about him and his upcoming podcast and things. So the things are up for the Average Money Podcast. We are closing out the month today. Like I said, growing due to you guys sharing, telling your friends. We were trying to get to 5,000 downloads last month in December. We far surpassed 10,000 downloads this month, and there's still tomorrow. So, Like I said, and we owe that all to you. This is so new to us and so awesome. And before I ramble on, go into work or get done with your workout or go invest in a nice, safe index fund, and put all this behind you. We'll catch you on the next one, guys. Cheers.